So today we're going to be talking about hunger. And as you can see by the title, hunger is not an emotion, but it is a hormone. The reason I say this is because I feel like a lot of times people think that hunger is this inevitable feeling that's going to sneak up on you and attack you just to derail you from all of your fitness progress at the worst times. So the reason that it's important to realize that it's a hormone, because maybe you're sitting there going, okay, cool, Molly, hunger is a hormone. What does that do for me? The reason that this is good news is because hormones are actually chemicals in our bodies. And once you realize something is a chemical, that means that there's going to be ways for us to influence those chemicals. And in particular, the hormone that refers to hunger is ghrelin. So if ghrelin in our bodies gets too high or out of control, realizing that there are ways for, in particular, that I'm going to highlight, ways to reduce it, that gives you power. Okay, it puts you back in the driver's seat instead of being a victim to something that we can't really control. It lets you know that you can do things to either be proactive and keep it from occurring in the first place, or if you do end up feeling hungry, it lets us know that there's ways for you to make it go away. So this right here is good news, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So ghrelin, this is the word that we use to refer to the hunger hormone, if you will. I had a client one time tell me that it sounded like the word gremlin, which I think is a good way to remember it. A lot of us don't like feeling hungry, and again, it can do some damage if you let it get out of control and you don't know how to control it. If we think about what makes us hungry, there is an endless list of things that can do that. First of all, it can be negative emotions, so feeling sad, feeling angry, stress is a big one for people. When people feel stressed, they often turn to food. But it can also be things like happiness or excitement. Sometimes people get really happy and then they feel more hungry than normal. Boredom, it could be neutral feelings. Simply not eating for a period of time could make you feel more hungry. Also, seeing food, or maybe even just thinking about food, can make you hungry. So the main thing here is to realize that there is virtually an endless list of causes for hunger. And instead of focusing on all of the things that make you hungry, I would rather you focus on 4 simple but really powerful things that can help you out with hunger if it happens. Again, there's 4 things that I'm going to cover really quickly today. And in terms of how I want you to use these is, if you can keep these 4 things sort of in the front of your mind to make sure you have them as staples in your diet, it's going to help you stay ahead of the game in being proactive. Because if you're eating and consuming these things or doing these things regularly, it's going to reduce how often you feel hungry in the first place. So the best thing you can do is to use these 4 things to stay ahead of the game. And then if you do find yourself hungry or even overly hungry and extremely hungry, you can also use these 4 things instead of just going balls to the wall and eating everything in sight. You can use these 4 things to kick it back in its place and to lower ghrelin levels. Specifically, that's what these things do. So you can either use it in a proactive way, or you can use it as a corrective measure or a fix if you do end up hungry. So, hopping right into it, first thing that's really powerful in controlling hunger is protein. And if you've done any research into getting shape at all in recent times, you've probably come across an article or 2 on protein. The 2 tips I would have for people to really use this the way that it's supposed to be used is, 1, you've got to find sources of lean protein that you enjoy, okay? Because unless you want to eat chicken for the rest of your life, you're going to need some alternatives, even though chicken is a great source of lean protein. But just know that there's a lot of options out there. It can be helpful sitting down with a coach to figure out different protein sources that you enjoy eating so that you can rotate them and not get sick of them. But lean ground beef, all different kinds of fish, egg whites, obviously there are protein powders and protein bars, tons of options. So make sure you have a good selection. The other thing is that sometimes people make the mistake of thinking that they're eating a high protein diet, but it's actually not even half the way there. So to figure out how much protein you actually need, you need to look at a few things like your body stats, how much you weigh, how old you are, stuff like that. That will help you figure out how many calories you should be eating per day. And after you figure that out, then you can break it down and figure out your macros. So how many carbs, fats, and protein grams you need per day. I just think that's really important to point out because you may be thinking you're eating a lot of protein, but really until you get that actual number, you won't know whether you're hitting protein goals or not. So anyway, that's the first one. Second one, fiber. Fiber, if you think of complex carbs, and that includes vegetables, that's gonna be your best bet in getting in lots of fiber. So whole grains, things like that, oatmeal, quinoa, rice, those are a good examples of complex carbs. Vegetables, gosh, almost all vegetables are gonna have some kind of fiber in them, but broccoli, cauliflower, celery, leafy greens, pretty much anything green is gonna have a good amount of fiber in it. Again, I'm keeping this really simple for you guys because I want you to know how simple it can be to really take control of your get in shape routine. And that's something as a coach that is really important to me that I guess would be good to share with you guys, because I think people get really misled these days by fad diets that want you to be hyper focused on one simple rule that's gonna fix everything for you. And you know, one of my philosophies or teaching techniques as a coach is that I think science like this is really important to uncover. Like, it's really important for people to realize that it's there, okay? Because our bodies have been responding to food and fitness the same way that they always have, and there's science there to be uncovered and identified. But B, the other thing is that it can be broken down into really simple, really bite-sized pieces that you can understand and that you can apply that will really help you get in shape, you know? So stuff like this is really important, and it's a big part of what I believe as a coach. So anyway, okay, getting off track. Number 3, water. And obviously this isn't even a food, so it might not be something that you're thinking about, but if you are even 2% dehydrated, you are likely to feel hungry when you might not even need food at all. So maybe you're just dehydrated. Tips for getting in water: go to Target. Use it as an excuse to go to Target and get a water bottle that fits your sipping style. So some people like to unscrew a top and chug it. I personally like straws. So yeah, go get a cute water container from Target, something that you like. If you like it cold, get a thermos style. And my gosh, make sure it's something that fits in your cup holder in the car, because if it doesn't, I just think that's the worst. All right, moving on. Sleep. Also, in general, it's gonna vary how much water you need depending on how much you weigh, but if you can aim for 64 ounces roughly per day, don't make it rocket science. Just make a good effort to, you know, to get a good amount in. Last one is sleep. And obviously this isn't something that you eat or even consume, but it is something that you need to do. And it doesn't sound very sexy. If you're somebody who wants to do things to see progress happen, this might actually be really hard for you because it requires you to actually do nothing. But in order to get enough sleep, tips for you guys would be, you might need to get as serious about going to sleep as you do about waking up. So that may mean setting a recurring alarm to go off every night for you to get in bed at the same time. And if you're someone who needs to wind down before you fall asleep, which is most of us actually, tips for doing that are turn all screens off an hour before you go to bed. And if you're gonna do anything in that hour between turning your screens off and going to bed, it needs to be something that's relaxing. So things like you could meditate at the end of the day or reading a book, anything like that, that's not going to, you know, wake you back up. Those are gonna be good things to do to help you get to sleep. In general, roughly 8 hours of quality sleep is gonna be a good target to aim for. But again, even just the recurring reminder to go to bed at the same time every day, that can be really, really helpful. So if you like seeing this kind of science identified and also simplified, then let me know. I would love feedback. If there's other topics that you'd like me to cover, then let me know that too. But besides that, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll be back on here again soon.